Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into some interesting news coming out of Israel today.
Yeah, we've got a whole stack of articles here, all about how Israel is getting ready to launch their first Bitcoin mutual funds.
It might seem like a very specific bit of financial news,
Yeah.
but it could actually be a sign of a much bigger shift, globally even, about how big financial institutions are thinking about digital assets.
Exactly.
So it could actually end up impacting your own investment choices at some point.
It really could. And it's interesting because this is all happening almost exactly a year after the US SEC approved the first Bitcoin ETFs.
Right.
And those have just exploded in popularity, attracted billions of dollars in investment.
So Israel hopping on board now suggests maybe this is becoming more of a global trend,
Definitely looks that way.
especially with the timing, right? They've got 6 Bitcoin mutual funds
6.
set to launch on December 31st. And we're talking some of the biggest names in Israel's financial sector offering these.
Oh yeah, some big players. Migdal Capital Markets. More. Ialon. Phoenix Investment. Maytav. IBI.
Wow.
So they're not messing around. And what I find really interesting is the range of options they're offering.
Right. Like the management fees, for example.
Yeah, you've got everything from a super low 0.25% to 1.5%.
So there's a lot of flexibility depending on, what an investor's looking for.
Exactly. And they're even going to have one fund that's actively managed, trying to beat Bitcoin's market performance.
So they're really trying to cater to all sorts of investors.
It seems that way, yeah.
It's also worth noting that they're starting with mutual funds
Right.
rather than ETFs, which is what we've mostly seen in the U.S.
Yeah. That does seem to indicate a slightly more cautious approach.
Which makes sense. They want to test the waters first.
Yeah. And at least initially, these mutual funds will only be traded once per day.
Unlike ETFs, which trade continuously.
Right. Although there's already talk of maybe adding continuous trading to future products down the line.
So maybe this is just the first step,
Yeah.
and they'll see how it goes.
Could be.
Now, the Israel Securities Authority, the ISA, they've given all of this their stamp of approval.
Which is huge.
Yeah. It suggests they're taking a pretty careful approach.
Oh, definitely.
But they're still optimistic about cryptocurrency.
Yeah. And that regulated environment they're creating.
Right.
That could make Israel a real hotbed for crypto investment innovation. So many possibilities.
A lot to watch for, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So what does this mean for, the average person out there?
Well, I think for starters, it's just another sign that cryptocurrency is slowly but surely becoming part of mainstream finance.
Yeah.
And these Israeli funds could lead to similar products in other countries.
Giving people more options.
More options, more flexibility to diversify their portfolios, which is always a good thing.
For sure. But we got to remember,
Right.
Every investment carries risk.
Absolutely. And cryptocurrency, even when you're going through a mutual fund, is no exception.
So it's all about carefully weighing those risks and the potential rewards.
Exactly. This is definitely a situation to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. It raises so many questions like, what are the long-term effects going to be when all these traditional institutions start really embracing digital assets?
Right. What happens then?
And will we see a sort of crypto rush happening in other countries?
So many interesting things to consider.
Yeah, we'll keep digging into those questions as things progress.
Yeah.
But for now, let's take a closer look at the specifics of these Israeli funds. I think there are some pretty fascinating details we can unpack there.
Absolutely. Like, for example, it's interesting how they're trying to cover so many different investor needs right from the start.
Okay.
They're offering everything from passive tracking with low fees for people who want to play it safe to actively managed funds where you pay a premium, but you might get bigger returns.
Smart strategy. Cast a wide net and see who you catch.
Exactly. And remember, Israel has a history of being a leader when it comes to financial innovation.
So what happens there often ends up influencing the rest of the world.
It really does.
So this is something to watch very carefully.
Yeah.
Because the impact could go way beyond Israel's borders.
Yeah.
To really understand what's going on, though, we need to take a closer look at the regulatory landscape in Israel.
Right. What exactly is the ISA's stance on cryptocurrency?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how might that affect how well these new funds do?
Well, from what I'm seeing in these articles, it looks like the ISA is trying to find a good balance.
Thanks.
They've spent over a year going over all these different proposals for Bitcoin ETFs.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so it seems like they're doing their due diligence, making sure they've really thought this through.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want to just jump into anything that could destabilize the whole financial system.
Exactly. But the fact that they are approving these mutual funds shows that they do see the potential of cryptocurrency.
Okay.
And they're open to letting it grow, as long as it's regulated.
So it's this careful balance they're trying to strike
Mhm.
between encouraging innovation but also protecting investors.
Right, exactly. And I think this approach could actually work out really well for Israel.
How so?
Well, if they create a stable, regulated environment, they might attract more institutional investors, the big players who might be a little hesitant about something as volatile as crypto.
That's a good point. And those big institutional investors tend to bring stability to any market they enter,
Exactly. They can actually help to smooth out those wild price swings we've seen with Bitcoin, make things a little more predictable.
which would then make it more appealing for individual investors like you and me.
Right, because let's face it, a more stable market is generally seen as a safer, more attractive market.
Absolutely. So let's shift gears a bit and think about the bigger picture. Do you think what's happening in Israel could actually be a turning point for cryptocurrency globally? Could this lead to even wider adoption?
It's definitely possible. You see, when the US approved Bitcoin ETFs, it was huge news.
Hmm.
But a lot of people saw it as kind of a one-off thing.
Right, like, oh, that's just America doing its own thing.
Exactly. But now, with Israel getting on board, it starts to look like there's a real global trend taking shape.
I see. So other countries might be more likely to follow suit.
Yeah, especially if these Israeli funds prove to be successful. It's like a domino effect.
One country makes a move, then another one starts thinking, hey, maybe we should do that too.
Exactly. And the more countries that embrace cryptocurrency and regulate it in a sensible way, the more mainstream it becomes, which could lead to businesses and individuals and even governments using it more and more.
And that could fundamentally change how we think about money and finance in the future.
It really could. We might be witnessing the beginning of a major shift in how we manage our finances.
But of course, there are still a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
Like, how will governments react to this trend as it keeps growing? Will they try to restrict it, or will they embrace it?
That's the big question, isn't it? Historically, governments have been pretty slow to adapt to new technologies, and cryptocurrency is no exception.
I mean, it sometimes feels like they're still trying to figure out how to regulate the internet, let alone something as complex as crypto.
It's true. But the reality is that cryptocurrency is here to stay. And the sooner governments accept that and start working with the industry, the better it will be for everyone.
So as we start to wrap things up today, let's think about what this all means for individual investors. If someone is interested in getting involved with Bitcoin, what are their options right now?
Well, if you're in the US, you can invest in a Bitcoin ETF. And soon, if you're in Israel, you'll be able to invest in a Bitcoin mutual fund.
But what about people who don't live in either of those countries?
For now, your options are a little more limited. You could buy Bitcoin directly through a cryptocurrency exchange, but
But that could be pretty intimidating, right?
yeah.
Especially for someone who's just starting out.
Yeah, and there's always the risk of hacks and scams, which we hear about all the time.
Right, so you have to be really careful.
Absolutely. If you go that route, you need to do your research. Pick a reputable exchange and a secure wallet. And take all the necessary precautions to protect your investment.
Because it sounds like the best approach for most people is to just kind of wait and see how things play out.
That's probably wise, yeah.
Maybe more countries will follow the lead of the US and Israel and create more regulated options for investing in cryptocurrency.
That's a good possibility. Cryptocurrency is still in its early stages and things are changing all the time. It's a situation that requires patience and careful observation.
And who knows, maybe someday there will be a global cryptocurrency ETF that anyone can invest in no
Yeah.
matter where they live.
That would be amazing.
Hmm.
But for now, let's focus on what we do know. And what we know is that Israel is about to become a major player in the crypto world.
This is definitely a story worth following closely. It could have a huge impact on the future of finance. Now let's move on to talk about some of the potential risks and rewards of investing in cryptocurrency, especially with all these new developments in Israel. And we'll offer some practical advice for anyone who's interested in exploring this exciting new world.
Sounds good. There's a lot more to discuss here, especially in terms of how all of this could affect individual investors. So we've talked a lot about the potential rewards and the exciting developments in cryptocurrency, but it's important to be realistic. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's risk involved too.
You're absolutely right. That perception of risk, the volatility, the uncertainty, it's often what holds people back from even considering cryptocurrency as an investment.
And I get it. I mean, we've seen some pretty wild price swings with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. It's a new market, still evolving. So that volatility is just part of the game right now.
So for our listeners out there who are thinking, hey, this sounds kind of cool, but is it really for me? What are the biggest risks they should be aware of before they jump into the crypto world?
Well, first and foremost, there's market risk. I mean, the value of these cryptocurrencies can go up and down like a roller coaster, and it's possible to lose a big chunk of your investment. We've all seen those stories, right? People losing their life savings on Bitcoin.
It's definitely a cautionary tale.
It is. And it's a reminder that you should only invest what you can afford to lose. Never put in money you need for everyday expenses or money that would cause you serious financial hardship if it disappeared.
So market risk is a big one. What else?
Security is another huge concern. We've seen so many cases of cryptocurrency exchanges getting hacked or people having their digital wallets compromised. It's a constant battle to stay ahead of the bad guys.
That makes choosing a reputable exchange and a secure wallet absolutely critical.
It is. Never skimp on security. Use strong passwords, different passwords for each of your accounts, and turn on two-factor authentication wherever you can. That adds a whole extra layer of protection. Oh, and make sure you keep your software and apps updated so you have all the latest security patches.
Good advice. So we've got market risk, security risk. Anything else to be wary of?
Yeah, regulatory risk is a big one too. Governments all over the world are still trying to figure out how to regulate cryptocurrency, and there's always a chance that new rules could come along that could really impact the value of your investments.
That's the wild card, isn't it? You just don't know how governments are going to react to this new technology.
Exactly. Some countries are embracing it, some are cautious, some are outright hostile. It's a constantly shifting landscape.
So staying informed about those regulatory changes, both in your own country and anywhere else you're thinking of investing, is crucial.
Absolutely. Things can change quickly. You got to stay on top of it.
So we've talked about the risks, but it's only fair to talk about the potential rewards too. I mean, there's a reason people are so excited about cryptocurrency. What's the big draw?
Well, for a lot of people, it's the potential for big returns. I mean, look at how much Bitcoin and some other cryptocurrencies have gone up in value in just the last few years. It's attracted a lot of people who are looking for a way to make a lot of money quickly.
Like a modern-day gold rush, but in the digital world.
There are definitely some similarities, but we have to remember past performance doesn't guarantee future results. The crypto market can be very unpredictable. There's no guarantee those prices will keep going up.
Right. Always good to keep that in mind. So high potential returns is one thing. What else?
Another big draw is the decentralized nature of cryptocurrency. It operates independently of any government or financial institution. That appeals to people who are looking for an alternative to the traditional financial systems, a way to take control of their own money and be part of a system that's more transparent and fair.
It really does shift the balance of power, empowering individuals in a way that traditional finance hasn't always done.
Exactly. It's a different way of thinking about and managing money.
And then there's the technology itself.
Right. Cryptocurrency is built on blockchain technology, which has the potential to completely change a ton of industries, not just finance. We're talking supply chain management, healthcare, voting systems. The list goes on and on. Blockchain could make all these things more efficient, more transparent, and more secure.
That's the really exciting part. It's not just about making money. It's about the potential for a whole new way of doing things.
Exactly.
So there are definitely risks with cryptocurrency, but there are also some pretty incredible potential rewards. It's all about carefully weighing those risks and rewards and deciding if it's right for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Now, let's say someone's listening to us today and they're really intrigued by the possibilities of cryptocurrency. They're thinking about taking the plunge, but they have no idea where to start. What advice would you give them?
First things first, educate yourself. There's a ton of information out there, online, at libraries. You can even take courses, learn about the different types of cryptocurrencies, the technology behind them, the risks, the potential rewards. Don't just jump in blindly.
Don't get caught up in the hype. Do your research first.
Right. Make informed decisions, not emotional ones. Once you have a good grasp of the basics, then you can start looking into different exchanges and wallets. Remember, security is key. Choose reputable platforms with a good track record and reliable customer support. Pick a wallet that fits your needs and offers strong security features.
And once they're ready to actually invest, what's a good approach for someone who's brand new to all of this?
Start small. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. That's good advice for any investment, but especially in the crypto world where things can change so quickly. And diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your investment across different cryptocurrencies to reduce your risk and potentially increase your returns.
Solid advice.
And remember, investing in cryptocurrency is a long game. Don't expect to get rich overnight. Be patient, stay informed about what's happening in the market, and keep learning as you go. And most importantly, invest responsibly. Make decisions that align with your financial goals and your risk tolerance.
Fantastic advice. We've covered a lot of ground today exploring Israel's move into the cryptocurrency market with these new Bitcoin mutual funds. It's a really interesting development, and it could have ripple effects way beyond Israel. It's a sign that digital assets are gaining more and more acceptance worldwide.
And like any new market, this is a story that's still being written. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on things and sharing our analysis as things develop.
The big takeaway for our listeners today is that the world of finance is changing, and cryptocurrency is right at the heart of that change. Whether you decide to invest in it or not, it's important to understand what's happening because it's going to shape the future of finance in a big way.
And as that future unfolds, we'll be here to help you make sense of it all. So stay tuned for more deep dives into the exciting world where finance and technology collide.